Aw, shit. Hey, Pretty Girl Club. We have got yet another one of the Black empowerment content creators who has fallen for the exotical psychological trap. We've already got Chrissy, and now Paris Milan has also fallen for my trap. She is extremely angered and triggered by the existence of exoticals having our own space. She clearly cannot take the heat. And so I have turned Paris Milan into an angry black woman. And she decided to come online and look at this thumbnail that she created, by the way, clapping back at mid-lie racials. So, do you guys remember when Chrissy made that live stream attempting to drag my channel? And she was talking about Brown Skin Exoticals YouTube channel and how Brown Skin Exoticals used a thumbnail where she was trying to show unambiguous black women in a negative light. So I don't see Chrissy or any other black content creators talking about how Paris Milan is attempting to utilize a thumbnail of a lighter skinned woman being seen in a negative light. And this is how I know that Paris Milan has an extreme inferiority complex because no woman who is composed, confident, and loves herself would get online and be this triggered at the existence of a YouTube channel that is, I mean, what, not even 1/10 of the size of Paris Milan. I mean, the fact that I've got YouTubers who've got 200 and something thousand, 350,000 subscribers talking about, thinking about, and watching who? Oh, that's right. Exoticals United, baby. And this is how I know that Paris Milan, she places exoticals on a huge pedestal because if you're so big and so poppin' and amazing and you've got all these things going on with your YouTube channel, why would you even be paying attention to or get that triggered or upset by the mere existence of an exotical channel? I mean, that's number one. I think that when Paris Milan came onto YouTube, her, Chrissy, and the rest of the Black women empowerment content creators, I think that they thought that nobody would ever respond to them. And so now that someone as articulate as like the women over here in the exotical space, now that we're making our own channels, they're just getting so triggered and inflamed with anger to the point where they fail to address my talking points. Notice how in Paris Milan's live stream, she did not address any of my actual talking points. So Paris, I want to say number one, how does it feel to know that I can anonymously come on here with a channel that is less than 10% of the size of yours and get you this triggered and this angry to where you have to come on here and give an emotionally dysregulated live stream? That's question number one. And then also, number two, Paris, you never answered my original question, which was where did Jordan Childs get her average looking features from that causes her to not be able to compete with non-Hispanic baddies? And also, Paris Milan, you didn't answer my other question. Who is she competing for? Who is she competing with? When you say that she can't compete with non-Hispanic baddies, compete for what? Compete for who? And also, which one of Jordan Childs' parents does she look more like? Who do you think gave her those features that are taking her down a notch from, drop dead gorgeous non-black Hispanic baddie down to being average at best or mid? Whose facial features do you think she has more of? Do you think she has more of her unambiguous black family members' features, or do you think she has more non-black Hispanic features? Whose features does she have more of? And point to the facial features that make her not beautiful. So that's number one. Also, notice the difference between like when I talk to other content creators, like if I'm responding to a content creator, I will try to respond to their talking points. Notice the difference between how Exoticals respond versus how Paris Milan responds. Paris's first response is, well, you must be ugly. Well, you're ugly. That's why you guys don't show your faces. I've seen pictures of you guys. I've seen pictures of the Exoticals. You guys are ugly. So look at the difference. Look at the difference between the responses, and you will know who has the intellectual authority in this scenario. I mean, this is not even a debate. I mean, at least Chrissy had some talking points. Paris Milan and Queen Chama, I just feel like you got Chrissy. As a matter of fact, Chrissy, if you're listening to this, please come back to the colorism conversation. I mean, at least Chrissy was a little bit better of a debate opponent. because Paris Milan is literally giving a high school level argument. At least Chrissy had a PowerPoint that she prepared. It took Chrissy a while to prepare. I mean, I still demolished Chrissy as well, but it's like, if you're going to come on here and try to argue with someone, saying things like, well, you guys are ugly, that's not going to get people to be on your side. It's just not going to get people to be convinced that you're being genuine. And have you ever noticed how Paris Milan has had no problem talking about exoticals for years? By the way, I do have a YouTube video from a couple of years ago where I talked about Paris Milan and her being accused of bleaching. I did a video on that. Be sure to check that one out. But notice how it's no problem when Paris Milan talks about mixed race women or lighter skinned women. There's no issue with her talking about the looks of somebody else. But if someone were to talk about her looks, or if someone were to talk about her family's looks or her desire to look more like Jordan Childs, then of course that's being anti Black and racist. And also, have you noticed how Paris Milan is too cowardly to say the name of my channel? She's too afraid of my channel growing in subscribers. I noticed the same pattern with Chrissy as well. So I've noticed both of them are extremely cowardly. She doesn't know how to point fingers and name names. And I've also noticed a similar pattern with Paris Milan as well, where she has had multiple beefs with multiple Black women content creators in the past. So, of course, I'm not surprised that she would come for a channel like mine. And I think that Paris Milan is shocked that the Exoticals are still here and that our channels haven't been taken down because you can't argue with our talking points. So she attempts to say that when it comes to her skin bleaching accusations, and by the way, I actually was not the first one to notice this. The photos of Paris Milan that you can see on my channel, those photos were actually being circulated online when I first came on here. She's saying, "Oh, it depends on the lighting." Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think that the lighting is going to change your tone that much. I think that playing sports, maybe playing tennis outside, could potentially change your skin tone. But I don't think that you would go from literally almost Lupita Nyong'o's color to almost like a Serena Williams type of shade. Also, for those of you who believe in the skin tone categories of light skinned, brown skinned, and dark skinned, I would call Paris Milan quote unquote brown skinned. And then I would call somebody Lupita shade, maybe dark skinned. So I just really, I don't think that Lupita Nyong'o would go to somewhere around Sierra's shade. And by the way, I will insert some photos of Paris Milan since she wanted to, I mean, Paris Milan, since you want to play this game, I mean, let's go ahead and play this game. So since you want to talk about skin tone and lighting, I will go ahead and search up whatever Google images I can find of you, and then I will go ahead and compare your skin tone to people like Lupita Nyong'o, Serena Williams, and potentially somebody like Sierra, because I would say that at your brightest on the lighting, you do look like you could be around Sierra's skin tone, and I actually consider Sierra to really be light skin. But since you brought it up, I'm not even going to bash you for it. I'm just going to say, let's go ahead and compare you to maybe some sort of paper bag or some sort of caramel candy, because I consider Fenty shades 390 and above to be light skinned. And so Paris Milan, I would consider you to be somewhere around that 390 range. I'm very curious to know what your makeup shade is, because I personally don't consider 390 to be dark skinned. Also, for those of you in the comment section, I don't remember if Paris Milan is African American or if she is from another background, but if she's from another background, that makes my suspicions go up even further, because I know that a lot of people in the Black diaspora, bleaching and all that is very common. I mean, Paris, I mean, I'm not even shaming you, girl. I mean, it's okay. Just come on over here to the exotical side. Just admit you want to be over here. That's fine. It's all good. You don't have to go online hating on women like Jordan Childs or calling people racials. Just admit to yourself that you wanted to be lighter, or you didn't want to stay that same shade that you were, and just, go ahead and get your exotical tax if that's what you're trying to get. She also says like she's sitting in front of a window. So I'm gonna go ahead and screenshot the photo of where she's sitting, and I'm gonna zoom into the back, because there appears to be some sort of window in the back. So it almost looks like it's nighttime when this is being recorded. I mean, this could be false. I mean, maybe the windows are black. So I'm not sure what time of day this live stream was recorded, but I don't believe you, Paris Milan. I mean, I don't believe you. It's all good. If you want to be a bleacher, be a bleacher. I mean, I don't care. We've got thousands of bleachers over here. As a matter of fact, if you are a skin bleacher, please email me at exoticalsunited@gmail.com. I'm going to go ahead and probably text or email some of the skin bleaching contacts that I have. And I'm just going to ask them for their opinion because the bleachers that we have over in this community, these are women who actually were Lupita Nyong'o's skin tone. And so those women can actually tell me what their lightest natural shade is and then what their darkest natural shade is. I mean, I understand that people get a tan. I just know that if you are quote unquote brown skinned or somewhere in the middle or whatever, kind of like Sierra, I don't think that Sierra at her very darkest could tan to Lupita Nyong'o. I personally don't think that if Sierra played tennis for a couple of years that she would become Lupita Nyong'o's color. I just don't think that. And I'll put up some images again since Paris Milan wants the smoke. I mean, I'll go ahead and bring the smoke. Like I said, I'm not shaming you for it. I'm just calling it out since you like calling out exoticals and since you decided to call out my channel specifically. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this. She also says that sitting in front of a window is causing her to look washed out. She doesn't look washed out at all. She looks very golden. You know, her skin tone looks natural. Looking washed out under lighting is different than simply sitting in front of a window. Going in the sun doesn't wash out a black person. I mean, come on, that's extremely disingenuous. Paris Milan, especially if she is not even African American, especially if she has some sort of African in her background, we all know that the sun is made for people who are African, right? So why would sitting in front of a sunny window suddenly wash you out, Paris Milan? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Your melanin was made for the sun. So no, you don't look washed out. Sitting in front of the window, that's not an excuse to look washed out. I just think that your skin is naturally about anywhere from 5 to 15 shades lighter than it was before. That's all. It's all good. It just appears that you've been taking either glutathione, vitamin C, and MSM to potentially brighten yourself. And also, I want to point out to those of you who don't know this, because I've actually been studying bleaching. I'm very familiar with taking pills. So there's a difference between bleaching like Michael Jackson versus taking glutathione and vitamin C or taking MSM to naturally brighten your skin. So if you take just the regular vitamins, exoticals know this. If you just take regular vitamins, you can go up about, as bright as you want and you can control your skin tone. I've actually experimented with this on myself and I've taken pictures and everything. In fact, if I can find my picture of my natural skin tone in the sunlight, if I can find that picture of my arm, I'm going to compare my own arm to Paris Milan's arm so that we can see whose skin tone Paris Milan is closer to. Is she closer to my skin tone or is she closer to Lupita Nyong'o's skin tone? Because remember, at the beginning of her live, Paris Milan called herself dark skinned. So I want to start off by doing that. So here's a picture of my arm. There's the picture from Paris Milan. She says that she's in front of a sunny window, even though the windows in the background appear to be dark as if it's nighttime. So that doesn't make sense, but maybe I'm wrong about the windows. So she's just saying that the sunlight somehow washes out her melanin and it's somehow making her look washed out, even though she does not look washed out at all. Her lighting looks perfect. And also she talked earlier in the live stream about getting her makeup done. She said that she got her makeup done by an artist and that the makeup artist used 3 different tones on her face. So, how does it make logical sense for a content creator to get professional makeup done and then to sit in front of a window where it washes her out? No, usually if you get your makeup done and it looks nice, then you would want to show off your makeup, right? So the math is already not mathing. You're telling me that you got your makeup professionally done and then suddenly you sit in front of a window and it looks washed out? You don't look washed out, Paris Milan. This is your natural skin tone. This is your new natural skin tone. In fact, when I first came on YouTube, there were actually rumors that you went faceless for a while because you were like brightening your skin. And I mean, if you're brightening your skin, like I said, I really don't care. What I care about is you talking about exoticals and calling us liracials and then thinking that I'm not going to respond. I think that you would have just been better off just kind of moving in silence and doing your own thing and not calling people average or mid or saying that their black features make them not able to compete. You could have easily just left it alone, Paris. I didn't want to have to do this actually. I really didn't want to have to call this out, but since you wanted the smoke, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and bring you the smoke and get my exotical tax. Also, about 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the live stream, I don't know if somebody said she looks olive, but I would agree. Like she has almost like this bright caramely olive tone going on. And once again, even if Paris truly is Lupita Nyong'o's shade, which she's not, that doesn't make logical sense. Lupita Nyong'o never turns Sierra's color, no matter how bright the lighting is. But even if Paris Milan was Lupita Nyong'o's shade, and even if she was dark skinned, which she is no longer dark skinned at all, um, why would she want to sit in lighting that is so bright to the point where it makes her look like a totally different person in terms of skin complexion? Like that doesn't really make sense to me. Also, for the people who would make the argument that, oh, you just get darker in the summer. You can go from kind of this light brown complexion, which is really what Paris Milan is. I mean, Paris Milan, I'm going to look back at this in the editing, but at first glance, Paris Milan is light skinned from the photos that I've seen. And this is actually my first time really looking at a video of Paris Milan. I actually haven't really watched that many of her videos recently. For those of you who are saying like, "Oh, I can get very dark." Yeah, I myself can also tan very like a very deep caramel. But I'm recording this on August 6th. So it's August. Like if you can get tan, so you're telling me that it's August. I'm not sure what region of the country she lives in. I mean, maybe she doesn't live in the United States. I don't know. Does she live in Germany, Netherlands? Who knows? I mean, maybe she lives somewhere where it's super cold and maybe there's no sun whatsoever. But generally speaking, people do get darker in the summer. So if you're telling me that the photos that I saw on my video, if you're telling me that that was just her with a tan playing tennis, which that's fine. I think that it was too. So it's August right now, and this is the time where people are usually like the most tan because it's summer, right? So now you're telling me that this is Paris's tan shade? I mean, I'm just asking a question. I mean, just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, so I had to pause it for a second. So I was actually able to find my original video that I did on Paris Milan where I proved that she was skin bleaching. So Paris, I don't want to have to do this to you because I'm just over here minding my business. I'm not over here talking negatively about your looks or the looks of unambiguous black women in the sense of, they can't compete with non-black Hispanic baddies or anything like that. So I do have a backup channel and I do have all of the images and I do also have the original recording. And by the way, I'll probably put it on maybe my backup channel. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll put it on the backup channel or I'll put it on like my Patreon or something like that. Any images that I've seen of you, Paris Milan, they are from Google Images. And I do see that your skin tone was clearly different than what it is today. Okay, so that can't be denied. Also, in terms of Paris Milan, saying that Jordan Childs looks average or whatever. And basically, Jordan Childs, she appears more black versus looking more non black. So saying that basically she looks average in comparison to someone non black, well, her mother is with a black man. So, Paris, you're with a black man, right? So, Paris, do you think that black male features are ugly? Do you think unambiguous black male features are ugly? Because if I'm not mistaken, aren't you with a black man yourself, an unambiguous black man? Isn't your father an unambiguous black man? So isn't it interesting how black men they're fine if they're, from Africa or if you're married to him, like it's not a big deal. But if you're a mixed race woman like Jordan Childs and you have a black father, oh, your black father gave you those features that made you below non-black women. Also, I noticed that she's calling us hood ratted throwaway pieces of garbage in society. So by the way, I'm kind of like reacting to this as I'm like watching it on my phone in another earpiece because I know that she's going to try to flag this. So because she said this, now I am going to place on the thumbnail the actual images, and I'm going to place throughout this live stream images of the various skin tones of Paris Milan. I also noticed that Paris Milan tried to backtrack and now she's saying, "Oh, I said she looked like a regular black girl in certain photos." First of all, if by regular you mean she looks like the most common or average black girl in terms of phenotype, first of all, that's actually false because The majority of Black women actually do not look like Jordan Childs. The majority of Black women look more like Lupita Nyong'o or somebody with a darker complexion. So not only is that talking point false, but you actually did not even say that in your previous commentary. If you guys do not believe me, please go back and watch Paris Milan's previous commentary. And then notice how Paris Milan says, "Oh, like you think if you talk in a preppy and proper voice, that's not your voice, that it's somehow going to help you." And it's like, first of all, Paris Milan, what is a preppy and proper voice? What's the difference between a proper voice and an improper voice? Are you talking about voices that sound more similar to African Americans? And also, I thought we were hood rats and pieces of garbage in society. As you said at timestamp, let me see, what was the timestamp? So around 6 minutes and 32 seconds is when you said the preppy proper comment. And then somewhere around 5 minute timestamp is where you were calling us pieces of garbage in society. So do you see how she cannot address my actual talking points? And she also cannot prove that she did not lighten her own skin to become more similar to Jordan Childs. I mean, Paris Milan, you're like a couple of shades away from Jordan Childs yourself. So, like, what are you even talking about, sis? I mean, at this point, I can tan to your skin tone, sis. Let's put back up a picture, a zoomed in picture of my hand outside in front of the sunny window. Because remember, Paris Milan said she's sitting in front of a sunny window and like that's why her skin looks so light. Okay, so that's fine. Let's put a picture of my hand in front of the sun. So there's sunlight outdoors, and then let's put a picture of Paris's arm outdoors. So that's not too far off in skin tone. So me and Paris Milan, I mean, we could literally be relatives. Our skin tones are so close. And remember, Paris Milan called herself dark skin within the first 5 minutes of the video. If you don't believe me, go back and watch it. Oh, and for reference, I actually did a skin tone color match to my skin tone. So let me pull up the image of my skin tone and all of the celebrities and stuff that are within my skin tone range. And then after that, I will put up an image again of my skin tone compared to Paris Milan's skin tone. And as a matter of fact, since Paris wants the smoke, let's go ahead and just do a skin tone match of Paris Milan right now. Let's go ahead and put up some celebrities that have the same skin tone as Paris. I also noticed that Paris tried to backtrack and she was like, "Oh, I didn't say Jordan Childs was below average. I said that her mom is below average, like in terms of looks. And that Black men like non Blackness so much to the point where they will get anybody who's not Black." Okay, so let's pull up some photos of Jordan Childs' mother. Okay, so Paris Milan, you said Jordan Childs' mom is below average. Okay, so what exact facial features? Like, what is it that makes Jordan Child's mother below average? Please give me the beauty standard that you are comparing Jordan Child's mother to. Are you saying she's below who? Who is she below? Is she below white women? Is she below, like, who exactly are you comparing her to? Please point out what exactly it is that makes Jordan Child's mom ugly. I also find it interesting that it's okay for unambiguous women who are quote unquote dark skinned. Paris Milan's nowhere near dark skin, but I find it funny that unambiguous creators can come online and call people below average and ugly and say, "Oh, no, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about your mama." And we're supposed to just act like that's not a big deal or like, that's fine. You can say whatever you want. But then when I ask you, okay, what makes Jordan Child's mom ugly? What features make her ugly? Is it her white looking features that make her ugly? Okay, so are you saying whiteness is ugly? Okay, so then are you saying that mixed race people are ugly? Because remember, Jordan Childs is the daughter of this woman here. So if you're saying, "Hey, you're not ugly, your mother is ugly." Okay, well, Jordan Childs is 50% of her mother. So you're actually being racist now against white people or against Hispanics. So you're saying Hispanic features are ugly then? Is that what you're saying? Which racial group, Paris Milan, has these ugly features or these below average features that you're talking about? Is it the Hispanic racial group, which is where Jordan Child's mother comes from, or is it the African American group, which is where Jordan Child's father comes from? Who has the ugly features that made Jordan Childs turn out average? Is it the Black man that had the ugly features according to you? Or is it the Hispanic woman that had the quote unquote ugly features? I would love to hear what you have to say about that. So Paris Milan says she feels like if a woman is unattractive, she has no right to talk about anyone's looks. Okay, so being ugly means that you lose your freedom of speech. So do you see how Paris Milan is contradicting herself? Because she's starting off by saying, hey, who cares that I call Jordan Child's mom ugly? Who cares that I call Hispanic women ugly? That's freedom of speech. But then she goes on to say, oh, but if you're unattractive, you don't have the freedom of speech to call others unattractive. Do you see how idiotic that sounds? And also, she doesn't name what her internalized beauty standard is. I mean, I'm assuming I mean, judging based on things like skin tone, makeup, hair, etc. If I were to judge Paris Milan when she is like dressed up and stuff, I would say that Paris Milan's internalized beauty standard is most likely mixed race or multiracial women. Because I'm going to go ahead and pull up maybe around a dozen or so photos of Paris Milan, and I'm not going to allow you guys to like make fun of it or anything, but I'm just judging based on these photos here. Paris Milan, you think that wavy hair is pretty. You think straight black hair is pretty. You seem to think that kind of broader noses are pretty because you have a broader nose, and I'm assuming you think that you're pretty. Okay, so since you think that kind of broader noses are pretty, as well as dark, sleek hair, let's now pull back up the picture of Jordan Childs' mother. She has a slightly broader nose with sleek black hair. So once again, Paris Milan, I would love for you to determine what exactly is ugly or below average about Jordan Child's mom. So are Hispanic women who look like Jordan Child's mom not allowed to talk about looks? So basically, according to Paris Milan, if you're Hispanic and look like Jordan Child's mother, you're ugly or you're below average. So, to the Hispanic women watching this, just so you know, that is what Paris Milan just said. If you do not believe me, let's go back to the timestamp. It is at timestamp 7 minutes and 59 seconds. She just said that if you look like Jordan Child's mother in terms of your features and how you naturally appear, you are below average. And then she's like, nobody's off limits to be criticized because they're mixed. Yeah, just like how you're not off limits to be criticized because you're unambiguously black and light skinned, not dark skinned, by the way. So, Paris, it's okay, girl. It's okay, sis. Come on over here. Go ahead and admit the truth. Okay. It's giving light skin. All right. It's giving Sierra. It's giving Chloe and Halle Bailey. Like I said, I will pull up some images so I can do an exact skin tone match of her. I will do a color match. I'll do a skin tone match. I'll do different lightings of her photos so that she cannot deny her actual skin tone. And also, I would love to know what makeup shades the artist is using. Because you talked about having a makeup artist that used three different shades. I would love to know exactly, what shade ranges they're using over there. And then she says that Jordan Childs doesn't have the phenotype to where she would be mistaken for mixed. So she says that Jordan Childs does not look mixed and that like everybody wouldn't think that she's mixed. And my response is everybody doesn't have to think you look mixed in order for me to say that I think that you look mixed. I think that Jordan Childs has ambiguity in her phenotype. Ambiguity just means that sometimes you may be mistaken for something else. Ambiguity doesn't mean all the time it's the same. In fact, that's the definition of unambiguous. So, Paris, you may want to go back to the dictionary. Okay, make sure you look up the definitions of words. Unambiguous means that you have more of a monolithic experience, whereas ambiguity means your experiences contradict sometimes. Okay, so ambiguity means hey, sometimes people think you're quote unquote light skinned black, other times people are thinking Latina, sometimes people are thinking biracial black, white. So that's literally the definition of ambiguity. So you actually just proved my point right there. Oh, yeah. And another thing I forgot to mention was she kept on saying, like, oh, you guys can cry about it. Like, notice how she's actually associating us with being sensitive. Like she's actually associating us with sensitivity and femininity by saying like, "Oh, they're crying about it. Oh, they're such crybabies." And I actually take that as a compliment because I'm like, "Thank you for acknowledging the fact that yes, I am a proud cry-racial. Yes, I have no problem being a damsel in distress. I have no problem crying about what I want to cry about. Not everybody is this hard social justice warrior, like soldier, this soldier personality." And then she said, I have a synthesized voice. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you sound this educated and that you're also black. Like, she can't believe that. She can't believe that blackness is a part of my identity and that I also sound educated. This must be fake. I must be a robot. Then I noticed she tried to invalidate Jordan Child's talking point by saying, "Why would a white person say to a biracial, 'You're not really black?' Like, why would they say that? To white people, you're just another black person. So like they don't see color." And once again, she's not understanding the definition of ambiguity. Ambiguity means that some white people will one drop you, whereas other white people will say things like, "You're not like other blacks." You know what I mean? You're not like them. You're not like the blackety black type of people. Like some racist white people will say stuff like that. And so she's trying to flip flop the argument because she really doesn't have one. I'm actually kind of embarrassed for Paris because that was an idiotic argument. And then she goes on to say that she thinks that Jordan's mother made up this whole story and just told Jordan this and that Jordan lied. So notice how Paris Milan, because she couldn't handle the smoke from the Exoticals, now she's changing it and trying to give all the smoke to Hispanics and say, "Oh, Hispanic women are the ugly ones. Hispanic women are the liars." And it's like, well, if I were to invalidate you based on your race and say, "Oh, well, if you're a black woman saying this, you're lying. If you're a felon saying this, you're lying. If you have a criminal background, you're automatically a liar." It's like, okay, notice how it's okay to do that to Hispanics, but it's not okay to do that to African Americans. It's not okay to do that to black women. Like I said, I don't even know if Paris Milan is African American or if she has some other background, maybe Nigerian or something. I have no idea. But even that itself is actually still racist. Invalidating someone's experiences and invalidating their life story because of their racial background, that's still racist. And then she kind of accuses Jordan Child's mother of being like this grifter and this liar. And I find it very interesting how she's kind of accusing Jordan's mother of being this potential grifter when there are lots of stories, unfortunately, about Paris Milan. I mean, I'm not going to try to bash her business or her YouTube. I mean, she's literally multiple different shades or whatever, which is fine. I mean, I don't follow the black empowerment space to the point where I trust the women and look up to them as any sort of role model. So I just find it very ironic how she's now switching her talking points. Whereas if you go back to the original video, you can literally see that what I'm saying is true. All you have to do is just go back to the last video that she just uploaded. I'd be s- I wouldn't be surprised though if she removes it in order to try to protect herself from her own lies. And then she tries to, kind of flex money, like, "Every time you get outraged, I get paid." It's like, "Sis, I get paid too." Paris Milan, my channel literally got 300 and something thousand views within the past month, and I have such a tiny channel, and now I've got you have 300 something thousand subscribers, so now I'm getting paid off of you. So this is why I love triggering really big content creators because it just draws more attention to this channel. It draws more attention to Exoticals. In fact, shout out to the new subscribers who have been coming back apologizing to myself and other content creators because you're realizing that things like what Chrissy said or things that others have said about us are obviously not true. I mean, do you really think that my channel would still be here if I were actually a racist and colorist, texturist, or featurist? Like, seriously, do you really think that if I would have repeated some of the same stuff that even Paris Milan has said in this video alone, in her video, do you think I would even still be here after 3 years? I don't think so. Also, she's like, "Thank you for allowing me to be your pimp." I find it funny how she's calling herself my pimp, or she's saying she's like a pimp to Exoticals somehow. So it's like, okay, I thought we were just the trash of society. You literally called us at the beginning of your live stream the trash of society. Why would you want to be a pimp to the trash of society? This tells me more about your mindset. And it's hilarious how she had the audacity to imply that I'm like a degenerate. So you want to imply that I'm a degenerate, yet you're talking about pimping people and you're making fun of pimping people who are the trash of society. Yet you want people to believe that I'm the degenerate? And then she was like, some of them have showed their faces. Like she basically said that all the exoticals are ugly. So because we are wise enough to protect our privacy, so because we're smart enough to protect our privacy and not go online and like bleach ourselves and pretend that we're pro-black and pretend that we're pro-swirl and then be anti-black male while being married to a black male. So because we are smart and strategic enough to not do that, then she says that we're ugly. And then she says that she has seen photos of some of the exotical channels, or I don't know who she's claiming to have seen photos of, but she was saying that we're ugly, basically. And I've noticed a pattern where anyone that they call ugly, whether it's Paris Milan or like just trolls in general, usually it'll be a woman who simply looks black. Kind of like what Paris Milan just did in her last video, saying that Jordan Childs cannot compete with non black Hispanic baddies. So, using that phrase, like you can't compete with non black Hispanic baddies, that implies that you're talking about Jordan Childs' beauty, saying that her beauty is inferior, that her blackness makes her inferior to Hispanics. And now you're coming for the Hispanic woman and saying that her Hispanic features and that her mestizo appearance, now you're being racist against people of the mestizo background. And you're saying that that appearance actually is the ugly one. So Paris Milan in her previous two videos has literally made multiple racist comments against both the mestizo community as well as people of African descent. And now she is saying that people of multiracial African descent, that we're ugly and that's why we don't show our faces. And then she says, "Oh, exoticals are so used to people telling them how pretty they are." I thought you just said that we were ugly, sis. So if we're ugly, then like why would people tell us that we're pretty? Why would black, white, or people of other backgrounds or Hollywood or whoever tell us that we're pretty? Especially if the women who have shown their face, who have exotical channels, the main women in this sector who have shown their faces have tended to be the darker skinned women, by the way. I just want to put that out there. So the main women that I've seen in the exotical space show their faces. They're usually of a darker complexion. So Paris Milan, point fingers and name names. Who are you calling ugly? Are you calling the darker skinned women in this community ugly? I would love to know exactly which exotical channels and people and faces you're talking about that are ugly and that are hit. Who are they? And then point out their facial features or their hair textures. Point out what makes them ugly. Hair, nose, eyes, skin tone. And then she makes it worse by saying, "Oh, when you call them regular, they'll fall out." But Paris, you just said a few minutes ago that when you called Jordan Childs regular, you just meant regular as in looks black or like she looks like a phenotypically racially black person. You said that when you said the phrase regular, that you weren't talking about beauty. But now you accidentally let it slip that when you said the word regular, you were, in fact, talking about her beauty. So do you see how she just exposed herself again? And by the way, that timestamp is 11 minutes and 34 seconds of where she accidentally exposes that she did, in fact, mean regular as in looking black makes you average. And like I said, the main exoticals in this space that have shown their faces have tended to be whether they're monoracial light skinned women or maybe they're darker skinned women who have ambiguity in their appearance. Those are the main women on this side of YouTube who have shown their faces. So, what makes a dark skinned woman look regular in appearance? What makes someone black looking look regular or they can't compete with Hispanics? And now you're also saying that Hispanic women are ugly as well, or that this particular Hispanic woman with these features, let's go ahead and describe her features. She has a broader nose with thinner lips and she has sleek black hair. So, which features do you think are ugly? And she has a beige skin tone, kind of like this almost an ivory beige skin tone. So, which features about the mother are ugly, Paris? Is it her ivory skin tone? Is it the beige skin tone that you think is ugly? Is it the sleek black hair that you think is ugly? Although I've seen you wear those hairstyles yourself. Is it the broader nose that you think is ugly? Although you happen to have a broader nose yourself, being of unambiguously black descent. Although you're not dark skinned, you said that you were dark skinned. You're not. And I've proven that by now. So, which features on Jordan Child's mother are ugly? I'll wait. And then she says that we know that we're not all that, which is why we come online and try to gang up on her. What? That's got to be one of the most hilarious talking points. Oh my God. A channel with 20,000 subscribers is ganging up on a channel with 300 and something thousand subscribers. If you combine like Paris Milan and Chrissy's subscribers together, that's almost 1 million subscribers. Imagine them putting you on such a high pedestal, putting Exoticals on such a high pedestal to the point where a tiny channel is literally ganging up on them. we're ganging up on Paris Milan. And it's like, who's ganging up on you? Who's the gang? Point fingers and name names. I'm not afraid to say names, Paris Milan. So who's the gang? And also, in order to feel ganged up on, you're admitting that that person has social power. So, first of all, thank you for giving me my credit. Thank you for bowing down and kissing the ring over here, even though you tried to say, oh, you're bowing down to me. No, actually, you're bowing down to us by saying that a small channel or a tiny sector in YouTube has the power to gang up on you. That's incredible to me. That I have to say, I'm actually flattered. And then she's like, "A lot of you guys know that you don't look good. This is why you're using avatars and voice synthesizers." It's like, first of all, what does your voice have to do with your look? Like, someone being ugly, that has nothing to do with their voice. Like, their appearance and their voice are two different things. And also, I thought you said that my voice was fake. So which one is it? And she's also implying that anyone who doesn't show themselves on YouTube must be ugly. Okay, so are you calling Chrissy, your fellow unambiguous black woman? She's an anonymous content creator. She doesn't show her face. So Paris Milan, do you think Chrissy is ugly? She's an anonymous content creator. She doesn't show her face. I mean, there are plenty of other black women content creators who don't show their faces. Do you think they're ugly? The creators of Brightside, that channel has like 10 million subscribers or something. Are those guys ugly? Those non-black men, are they ugly? Is anyone who doesn't show themselves ugly? And I've noticed that there's this pattern in women like Paris Milan who have a severe inferiority complex. This is actually Paris Milan's actually way worse than I thought. I thought that Chrissy was a good psychoanalysis. Paris Milan is like a psychological jackpot because she's really revealing her incredible inferiority complex. So if you protect your privacy, you must be ugly. You must be hideously ugly. And also, have you ever noticed that whenever someone brings up the pretty privilege conversation, then people immediately want to say, oh, well, you must be ugly. And notice how Paris Milan didn't address any of my talking points of my channel. She literally just says, "Oh, you guys are lie racials. You guys are the scum of society. You guys are trash. You guys are hood rats, and I'm your pimp." That was Paris Milan's response. Then she says that we're all triggered. All of us exoticals are triggered because Paris Milan is a black woman who looks better than all of us. So she looks better than all of us while simultaneously not knowing what any of us looks like. While also simultaneously saying that a Hispanic woman is ugly and that she looks better than that Hispanic woman, even though she wears the exact same hair textures as that Hispanic woman and has a similar nose structure to that Hispanic woman. Meanwhile, if a light-skinned black woman, even though Paris actually is light-skinned, I proved that earlier. Meanwhile, if I were to come online and say, "Oh my god, I look better than you. I look better than Chrissy. I look better than Paris Milan. I look better than everyone." People would be like, "Oh my god, you're so ugly. No, you don't. You think you're better than others and that's bad." So, notice how it's only bad to think you're better if you're an exotical, but if you're unambiguous and a skin bleacher, then it's not bad to think you're better. Or if you're an unambiguous person who lies about skin bleaching, Paris Milan, then it's not a problem. And then she's like, on my worst day, I look better than every last one of you broads. So she looks better than a whole bunch of women where she doesn't even know what we look like. And also, I just feel like as a woman who does identify as being beautiful myself, I do identify myself as being beautiful. I do think that I'm gorgeous. But I feel like a woman who truly believes that she's beautiful and gorgeous, she doesn't have to come online and talk about, oh my God, I look so much better than this other person. I look better than you broads. I look better than these bitches. She doesn't even have to come on and talk like that. I mean, seriously, think about the exotical content creators that you have seen on this side of YouTube. Have any of the YouTubers over here ever said, "Oh my God, I look so much better than Paris Milan. I look so much better than this other girl"? No, because a woman who truly believes in her own inner beauty and outer beauty, she doesn't even have to prove her beauty to others because she already believes it. And so it's like, Paris, who are you trying to convince? Me or yourself? Who are you trying to convince of your beauty? Me or society or yourself or your subscribers? Who are you trying to convince? Because it sounds like you're really begging for me to believe you. That's really what it sounds like. It's actually kind of sad. And any pretty woman can testify if you identify as if you think that you're beautiful, comment down below. Have you ever felt the need to come online on a live stream and brag on YouTube about how I look better than all these other women on my worst day? Have you ever felt the need to do that? when it's like somebody you disagree with, or let's say a troll comments on your Instagram, have you ever felt the need to address them directly and say, well, I just wanted to let you guys all know I look better than all of you guys? Well, no, because that person, the person who quote unquote looks worse than you, trust me, they already know their insecurities are very loud. They have mirrors. And so, Paris, just a pretty girl tip. If you want me to believe that you think you're pretty, step 1 is you don't have to come online and say, "Oh my god, I look so much better than everybody else. And Jordan Childs is ugly and her Hispanic mom is ugly and women with mestizo features are ugly." That's not the behavior of a woman who truly believes that she's beautiful deep down inside. And I'm just saying. And then she goes back to say that regular doesn't mean ugly, it just means a standard phenotype that is commonly found. Okay, so by that same logic, Paris Milan, I could argue that your facial features are commonly found amongst unambiguous Black women, right? So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to imply that being regular equals, well, you're not pretty enough, well, technically, wouldn't that mean that all monoracials are not pretty? So, do you see how I just expose your own internalized anti-Blackness right there? And then she tries to qualify it by saying that a regular Black woman is brown with 3C hair. We all know that that's actually pretty disingenuous. Having like a sleek, I guess when I'm thinking of 3C, I'll put up pictures of what I believe 3C hair is. We all know that 3C hair has been heavily pedestalized in the Black community because of things like texturism. And so I actually do not think that 3C hair would be considered regular. As far as being the most commonly found, no, Paris Milan, let's get out of denial here. Okay. Let's get out of like wig blindness and stuff like that. Because that's something that a person would say if they have wig blindness. Wig blindness is when you have worn so many like wigs and weaves to the point where you think that the average unambiguous Black woman has 3C hair or type 3, some sort of silky, wavy, curly, kind of wet looking hair. No, like that's actually not regular in the Black community. The quote unquote regular, I don't even like using that term when describing Blackness. Um, but if you are talking about regular as in it's commonly found, the most commonly found hair types in the Black community would obviously be a type 4. So stop being disingenuous. And also, the most commonly found skin tone in the Black monoracial community is dark skinned. So why is it that you're suddenly denying that? Now that I've called you out and you can't handle the smoke, now you suddenly want to backtrack and try to give an opposite talking point. Oh, Black comes in every shade, every hair texture, 3C, what, any shade of brown. And it's like, okay, so which one is it, Paris? Do you think that Blackness comes in every single shade and hair texture and whatever? Or do you think that Blackness is the true Blackness, which is unambiguous Blackness? It's so hilarious how unambiguous Black women have told lighter skinned women or women who benefit from the isms, they've told us to get out of their spaces and to stop replacing them. And then when we finally do so, we get responses from women like Paris Milan saying that we're all ugly and we're trash and we're scum and that she's our pimp. And then she says that we're regular. So Jordan Childs is regular. She's common. Also, somebody in her comment section said that regular means girl next door. And if you look up the definition of that phrase, it says a person or a type of person perceived as familiar, approachable, and dependable. So if I were to use that phrase regular interchangeably with the phrase girl next door, are you telling me that unambiguous women are unapproachable? And Paris actually didn't say that. That was actually one of her subscribers that said that. But I noticed that Paris, she didn't respond to the subscriber correcting them. Girl next door actually means desirable as well. Girl next door means effortless. So, by definition, if I were to say Jordan Childs is quote unquote regular girl next door, I'm saying she's effortless, effortlessly beautiful. Okay, so I mean, it's hilarious how Paris is assuming that we are angry about her saying that term regular. But it's funny because what I called out in that video is that she said, quote, that Jordan Childs can't compete with non-black Hispanic baddies. If you do not believe me, go back and watch Paris Milan's video. And then she says exoticals are used to black women feeling like they have to stay in their place. Paris Milan, is your self esteem that low to the point where you think that anybody who is less black than you looks down on you? Like, let's imagine your self esteem being that low, like exoticals. Let's imagine anybody who's lighter than you thinking that they look down on you. Like, imagine how tormenting that must feel to genuinely feel like anybody who's a little bit less African automatically looks down on you. So she's actually exposing her own low self-esteem right there. That's why I said when she was over here saying, "Oh, I look better than all of you broads and you guys are all ugly. That's why you don't show yourselves." So apparently if you don't show yourself to Paris Milan, you must be ugly. And it's like who died and made you the queen of deciding who's ugly and who's beautiful? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So Paris, you don't get to control my self-perception. You don't get to control my self image. You don't control how I see myself. That's why I said, with you coming online being that triggered, trying to defend your beauty, this shows me that you don't believe that you're pretty. You don't believe that you're actually pretty. You do believe you're regular, as you quoted in this live stream. She actually did end up calling herself regular around 14 minutes into her own live stream. She admitted that she thinks that she herself is a regular black girl. Somebody said in Paris Milan's comments, they were like, you could pass for a house slave. You ain't black enough for the fields. So even one of Paris Milan's unambiguous black male subscribers is saying that Paris Milan looks like she would be in the house. And I know that they had dark skinned people in the house and light skinned people on the fields, but that's interesting. And then she's like, you think you're going to silence me after all these years? Isn't that interesting how she thinks that I have enough power to silence her? Do you see how high of a pedestal Paris Milan puts me on? Do you see how high of a pedestal she puts exoticals on? You guys are bullying me. You're ganging up on me. Paris, there are only like what, a couple of exotical channels? Are you talking about me personally? How am I ganging up on you when I don't even have not even 10% of the gang that you have? I mean, I think this is just incredible. This tells how much social power Paris Milan believes that exoticals have. She's so riled up and scared to the point where she is threatened by such a teeny, teeny, tiny YouTube channel. And she's saying, oh my God, they're ganging up on me. Oh my God, they're silencing me. I look better than all of you. I just want to let you know I look better than you. I'm going to try to convince you that I'm pretty because I can't convince myself and I can't convince society. There were other people in her comment section around 15 minutes and 25 seconds that are like, I didn't know she looked like this. I thought she was dark skinned. See? So even her own subscribers who have been there for a while, because like I said, she went faceless for a couple of years, and I'll show the images of kind of some of the older images of Paris Milan. And by the way, these are images that were just freely shared on Google. So yeah, some of her own subscribers are even saying, wow, I thought you were dark skinned, like you're light. And then somebody else is saying, oh, you could pass for a house slave. And then Paris Milan is shouting into the abyss, trying to convince me that she thinks that she's so confident and she's so bad, such a pretty girl. And it's like, Paris, if you truly believed that you were pretty and if you truly were treated as pretty, you wouldn't have a problem actually with my content. In fact, you'd be able to relate to it, right? Because Paris, as a pretty woman, you said you're a bad bitch, right? So, as a fellow pretty girl, Paris, you benefit from an ism. It's called lookism. Lookism is pretty privilege, right? So you benefit from an ism. So you'd be able to actually relate to the content over here, would you not? So why are you so upset? If the stories that we're telling on the exotical side of YouTube are relatable to you as a pretty woman who's unambiguous, why would you be upset? If you think that black features make someone beautiful and it makes someone pedestalized, you wouldn't be upset with my content, right? You wouldn't be threatened by it because you're receiving the same level of privilege, if not more, than people over here, right? Because race, it's not automatically determining of your beauty, right? You can be unambiguous and be beautiful and have pretty privilege, right? So what's the problem? Why are you so upset? You mad? And then she's like, most of you guys aren't pretty, so get over it. And once again, Paris, you don't know what we look like, sis. Like I said, a woman who truly believes that she's beautiful, she's too busy enjoying her own beauty or kind of focusing on herself to even think about or worry about how ugly somebody else is. How many exotical channels have you seen come on here and say, "Oh my god, so and so black woman, oh my god, she's so ugly. So and so other person looks so much better than this black woman." How many exotical channels have you seen talk like that? How many pretty women of any race have you seen talk like that? I can always tell if a woman is truly pretty and has pretty privilege based on her personality, believe it or not. As a person who studies psychology and sociology, I can always tell the women who truly have lived a life of experiencing pretty privilege or being perceived as pretty. I can always tell a woman who thinks she's pretty versus a woman who does not think she's pretty. And also when she says, "Oh, she looks like a regular black girl," as in this is what black women commonly look like. Black women do not commonly look like Jordan Childs. In fact, the entire colorism, texturism, and featureism conversation was based on unambiguous dark-skinned black women saying, "Hey, we are the real blueprint, right? We're the actual black women, and we're tired of being erased." So even that talking point of she looks like a regular black girl in terms of race, no, she actually doesn't, because most black women are not light skinned with sleek edges and type 3 hair and keener noses, thinner. Jordan Childs has a thinner nose and thinner lips. You're telling me that regular black women, the most common phenotype found in black women is having a sandy skin tone with type 3 hair and a thin nose and thin lips? That's disingenuous and false. Paris Milan, you should know that, right? As the blueprint yourself. And then she goes on to desperately fight for using the term exotic. At around 1754, somebody said, "This is what exotic looks like, guys." So I find it hilarious how we actually took a phrase that they used to make fun of us, because they'll say things like, "You're not dark enough to talk about colorism." By the way, that's another random question. How dark skinned do you have to be in order to discuss colorism? But no, I've noticed that now that we actually are building our own spaces and now that we are like making our own YouTube channels and we have strong talking points, they're getting so triggered and saying, "No, we're the real exoticals. We're actually the exotic ones." But I thought you didn't care, right? You said regular is not bad, right? Okay, so and Paris, you admitted earlier in your stream, you said that you identify as yourself being a quote regular black girl. Okay, so if you're a regular black girl, how are you quote unquote exotic? Because if you look up the definition of exotic, the opposite of the word exotic is actually like regular, unremarkable, conventional, similar, familiar. So which one is it? Are you quote exotic or are you quote regular? Pick a struggle. Pick a talking point, Paris. Come on. Make it fun. Make it fun for me to debate you, Paris. At least do what Chrissy did next time. Try to come up with eh, at least try to come up with some rinky dink PowerPoint next time. I mean, come on. Even Chrissy was better than this, Paris. And then I find it hilarious how she's like, "You are my sons. You don't exist or live or breathe or eat without me." And it's like, well, Paris, if we're your sons, you just called us trash and the scum of society at the beginning of the video. So you're saying that you birth scum and trash? And by the way, you guys do birth black men as well, who a lot of women are calling cicadas and roaches over in the divestment movement. So you may want to talk to them. So it's like, which one is it? So I'm your daughter, Paris, but I'm also scum and I'm ugly. So if I'm your daughter and I'm ugly, where did I get my ugliness from? Kind of like Jordan Childs. Which parent is the ugly parent? You said that Hispanics are ugly. So Hispanics are ugly, but you said that black women are the blueprint, right? So all the races came from black women. So that would mean that Hispanics also came from black women. So if you call any of us ugly, you do realize that you're calling black women ugly as well, right? By saying that we're all your sons and daughters because you guys have the Eve gene, right? I'm assuming that that's what you're basing that talking point on. You're the blueprint, you have the Eve gene, all the races came from you. So if all the races came from you, then that would mean that you calling people of other races ugly, it means that you're calling yourself ugly. And then she's like, "They're not used to a black woman." Yeah, I know I look better than you. So once again, she's saying she looks better than women who she doesn't know what we look like, but then we're also her sons and daughters, and she birthed us though. but then she looks better than us, but then we're trash and the scum of society. I can't take this seriously. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.